If you have old unresponsive leads and you have a database you built throughout the years, there's going to be four different tactics I'm going to go over in today's video to really be able to convert and reactivate some of those leads. Because here's the thing, I was just talking to a real estate agent a couple of days ago and I asked them like, okay, what are you doing right now for your marketing? And they told me they have different things like Zillow leads, they have Facebook ads going, and basically right now they're working on getting more leads. All right. Then I asked this person, like, okay, how many people do you have in your database, like of these old leads? And they told me they have about 2,000. And then I asked, like, hey, what are you doing right now to really activate those leads, try to get those listing appointments, get those referrals coming in? And the person told me, which is quite interesting, that they're doing nothing. So right now, there's no ad spend going, there's no marketing campaign going. And this really surprised me a little bit because a lot of people, they are willing to spend a lot of money, right? There are a lot of people are spending 2,000, 3,000, $5,000 per month really to be able to, again, get new leads, but nobody wants to spend money on activating old leads. And this is a big problem, right? Because in real estate, the sales cycle, it is very, very long, right? We're talking about a long sales cycle. We're not selling sunglasses or anything like this. And the second issue is that a lot of the times the way people make decisions about hiring a realtor, right, is really through relationships. So when you know somebody, there's trust built in, there's some sort of factor where the person trusts you, right? That's when it activates that transaction, right? And so if you're always chasing new leads or always spending more money, you're basically facing that problem of having to spend a lot of money on your marketing, and you're also needing to filter through a lot of people. So this is the way you can basically make more money with less effort and with less investment from your end as well. Now, with that being said, if you want to have these four tactics sent to your email, just comment tactics down below. We're going to send this to you for free. But the very first thing I want to talk about is organic social media. So for a lot of people, they have a Facebook account, they have an Instagram account, they have a LinkedIn account. But when you look at those accounts, actually the way that account is being used, most of the times on that account, you'll see things like automated posts, you'll see things like market updates, and basically this very generic information. Sometimes you will even find things like political sharing, you will find things like sharing things about whatever people consume on Facebook, right? Those sorts of things. And a lot of people tend to like this kind of idea, like, hey, I have a personal Facebook account, like, it's not really going to influence my business, right? It's just going to be completely separate. But this is not the case at all, right? So, especially nowadays, the day and age we live in, even, I mean, in a lot of countries, right, people actually monitor your social media accounts. They will look at your account, see what you're posting. So, really, your social media accounts, they're no longer these sorts of just fun and play sort of things like we just post anything and it doesn't matter at all. Really, these social media accounts are just an extension of who you are. And these are essentially a little bit like a business card. Nowadays, this is like a modern business card. Okay? So I'll give an example, right? Let's say you go to a barbecue party, and in the barbecue party, you meet a local engineer, basically that's looking to sell their house. You kind of notice, okay, they're looking to sell their house 6 months from here. And you gotta touch on a little bit. You say, hey, like, if you want to work at me at some point, I'm actually a realtor here in the local area, right? If you want to do something like that, we can chat about that later on, right? Now, when it comes time to sell the house or even after the barbecue party, right, that person will look you up on social media if they're serious about working. They'll look at your Facebook, they'll look at your Instagram, right? They'll look at all these different places. And if you don't have proper presentation of yourself, again, if you have things like either automated posts, right, or you have those generic posts, or you have those kind of personal random sharing, right, they will have an image about who you are and they will make a judgment. Hey, this is the kind of person this person is, right? Now, let's look at another scenario, right? Obviously, that was more a little bit of a scenario where you may lose that deal, but let's take a look at another scenario, right? So, if you proactively think about your organic social media, pretty much the way it will look like is you have that chat with that homeowner. Let's call it John, right? You have a chat with them, you kind of drip a little bit like, hey, at that time when you guys are ready to sell, right? We're gonna work with us, and you kind of drip that in a little bit. And now proactively, you actually, what if you added them on social media, right? So you go on Facebook, you look him up, John Kelly, whatever, you add them on Facebook, and now that homeowner goes to your profile on Facebook, right? And they look you up. They see you working with different clients. They see you working with the local neighbor, right? They see you in the local neighborhood. Maybe you have some videos there. They see those case studies you have. They should see valuable real estate content, right? Maybe you share some info about the local area. You share some tips about the local area, right? And generally, they just get an impression like, hey, you are on top of your game, right? Like, you really understand the local area. You are kind of like that go to local realtor. And they have this idea like, okay, now this person like really knows social media. You really know online marketing. Like, you're basically sophisticated with this, right? And now, since you added them on social media, they keep seeing these posts. So they see a post number one, right? Maybe same day you have a video coming out, then you keep posting, right? So maybe next day you have a client success story. And basically just this just keeps happening. Like organically, they just keep seeing your posts over and over and over again. And basically what happens, right, is that you're being top of mind with them, right? So your posts keep being seen, your content keep being seen, you're handling maybe different concerns, handling maybe different fears. Maybe you don't necessarily even talk to this person one by one that many times or at all, right? They just keep seeing your content like this passive way. And ultimately, by the time when it's time to sell, let's say is 6 months down the road, I mean, which realtor do you think is going to get the listing, right? You have two realtors. The other one is basically either invisible ghosts, right? They have no social media presence. And the other one is doing things like this, right? They basically have a personal brand in this person's mind. I mean, at the end of the day, right? The truth is nowadays, this is how this works, right? You have to be able to be top of mind. You have to be able to nurture a lead. And again, by the time it's time to sell, if this person is in your organic social media presence machine, right? They keep being seen, but you keep being seen by them, you are going to be the person that gets that listing. Now, the reason why I think this is such an non-talk about thing, right, where everybody talks about leads, everybody talks about getting new leads, right, is because of something called availability bias, right? Oftentimes we have this idea like, hey, if something is in front of me, it's happening right now, that's basically more important, right? And that's why a lot of people they have this like recency thing, right? They need to get business right now, so they try to get the business right now. But if you think about your business, let's say even in 1 year time frame, right? How many deals like that could you close? And how many more opportunities like that could you have, right? If you were to have just have a little bit of longer time horizon, right? And so this is why I would say social media organically is number one, because again, this is free marketing, right? You're not spending any money, and really all you have to do is just make a couple of social media posts per week. So if you're willing to put that effort, it's all passive, right? It's like passive income. You can just get these people being nurtured for free. You don't need to call, you don't need to door knock, you don't need to have a barbecue party, you don't need to do any of these things. You just get people seeing you passively like this for free. And again, you can use video, you can use audio, you can use documents, like you can all use all sorts of different things. Even on Facebook, you can message them, right? There's so many tools you have available, right? So there's just no reason to try to passively or try to like proactively like call them or door knock or stuff like that. That was like maybe 20 years ago where you have to do this, right? Nowadays, you just have so many tools. So organic social media, it's the most underutilized tool, I would say, still to this day. Okay, let's go to tactic number two. Tactic number two will be called omnipresence campaign. So right now, as a real estate agent, you have a database. So most of the people watching this video have a database of 1,000 people. Some of you will have a database of 2,000 people. Some of you will have a database of 5,000 people. And with that database, what you should be doing is try to convert people from that database. But many people, they don't know how to actually do that. So what they basically do is they call them, they try to send them text messages. And of course, that is all fine, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you can send 1,000 text messages and somebody will respond to your message, right? But at the end of the day, nowadays especially, you want to get a little bit more sophisticated with your approach. It's not enough just for us to send some information, right? Because the thing is, again, information, it's so oversaturated. There's too much information. So what we should be doing is relationship building, right? But how you do that is actually through something called this omnipresence campaign. So what you can do is you can create a separate campaign on social media that is not tied to your lead generation campaign. So if right now you're running Facebook ads for lead gen, right, or you're doing YouTube ads for lead gen, whatever you're doing for lead gen, this has nothing to do with this. So you create a separate campaign, and in this separate campaign, you don't need to worry about getting the lead because you already have the lead. So what you can do in this campaign, you can provide value. So basically what you're doing is you can record videos like this, what I'm recording right now, where you talk about the local area, you talk about the local developments, local things happening. You can provide local tips, obviously. Now, other thing you can do is provide local client success stories. So maybe you sold a house for $500,000 more, whatever the case may be, or you sold the house for 30K over asking price, or maybe just had a very, very happy client. You can have the sold sign or whatever the case may be, and you have an amazing story, right? These are all the things you can put to this omnipresence campaign. And what will happen from this leads point of view, because this is one of the things that nobody talks about in the real estate market space, is like the leads point of view, right? Is for most people when they become a lead in a real estate marketing funnel, right? They just have a realtor calling them and they're like, hey, blah, 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 my name is this. Do you want to sell your house? Do you want to sell your house? Right. And if they don't want to sell their house or they already have a realtor that whatever they have an objection, the realtor goes again 3 months later and it's just this whole cycle. Or maybe they don't call at all. Right. That's basically what happens right now in the real estate marketing space, how people convert the real estate leads. But if you are somebody that has this omnipresence campaign, what basically happens is I become your lead, and maybe you call me and I'm right now, I'm traveling, or right now I don't want to sell a house right now. Right now I sell my house 3 months, 6 months, 1 year down the road, right? Well, now what happens automatically without you having to lift your finger is that you will show yourself on Facebook, show yourself on YouTube, show yourself on Instagram. And this all happens automatically. And this person, right, they see your client success stories, they see your testimonials, right? They see value from you. They just keep seeing you 50 times, 100 times, a couple hundred times a year. And now, by the time when it's time to sell, 1 year down the road, 6 months down the road, whatever the case may be, at that point, they're already familiar with you. So they know who you are, they know your success stories, they know your value, right? And at that time, when you call them, even if you call them or maybe you call to your calendar, right? Well, at that time, they're already very familiar with you. So the benefit of a campaign like this is very underestimated because with traditional lead generation, you can get anywhere from 2x to maybe again 5x ROI, which is all good, right? If you spend 1,000, you get $3,000 back. That's amazing, right? But at the end of the day, if you run a campaign like this, let's say you have a database of 2,000 people, you can spend, let's say, $200 a month on this campaign with 13 creatives. So you have 13 different posts going to 2,000 people every single month. You do this for a year, right? You have about 160 touch points and you spend, let's say, $2,000 total across the year. Well, at that point, from those 2,000 people, right, how many people you think you can convert, right? Because there's a lot of people, there's 1,000 people, they've already signed up, right? They're already your leads. Maybe you know them from a barbecue party, whatever the case may be. From that 2,000 people, I mean, you can get a lot of business. We can talk about, let's say, 2 referrals, 2 additional listings a month, 2 additional buyers per month. That's what 24 a year. So if you can spend $2,000 and you can close on, let's say, 20 transactions, even 5 transactions, right? We're talking about a significant ROI because you're spending 2,000. Let's say your average commission is 10,000, and you close on 5 listings. That's $50,000 ROI. That's a 25x ROI. And this is why right now, if you're not running something like this, definitely start running this because this is usually the lowest hanging fruit we have seen across all of our clients is where they don't have this, they put this in place. And with very small investment, you can run something like this to your whole database and all the new leads are actually coming through as well. So you can make sure you lock in as many of those deals as possible. You basically don't have any of those fishes sleeping through the net when you catch it. Okay, so last 2 tactics we're going to talk about is going to be SMS outreach and email outreach. Now, all these 2 things, they actually tie together. So right now, if you're not doing any organic social media, or you just have like automated content, right? And you don't do any retargeting, you're gonna have a really, really hard time following up on your leads. So when you call those leads, they have no idea who you are, right? Or they've forgotten about you, or you're just not gonna care that much unless they're like your personal friend or something like this. So you have to be doing that organic social media. You want to be doing that omnipresence campaign because all these tactics, they really flow together. So if you're doing omnipresence, you're doing organic social media, you're gonna have a really easy time outreaching to people. But if you're only doing outreach, you don't have any attraction, right? You don't have any kind of a organic social media presence. You don't have omnipresence. Like you're gonna have a really, really hard time with this. So again, you want to be doing all of them. But in this next section, I'm going to talk about outreach. And the thing about outreach is that most people actually do this wrong because most people, they basically send things like emails that are group campaigns, they're automated, right? And there's no personal connection. So whenever you're doing outreach, you're basically trying to see where these people are in the sales cycle. It's a little bit like a tree where you have a bunch of apples and you try to see, okay, which apple is ready to go, which apple is ready to drop, right? To become your client. And so what we're doing with this is we're basically sending this outreach campaign, but this outreach campaign, you want to make it feel like it's one-on-one. You don't want to send a campaign that feels like it's a mass campaign. And this is where a lot of people go wrong, right? They think that, hey, if I'm doing email marketing, my email should be very pretty. I should have a lot of pictures. I should have a lot of links to click on, right? And they have this belief that, hey, like 20 years ago when you did marketing, like you have to have this kind of like a branding guideline or something like this. But this has nothing to do with this. So what you're ultimately looking to do is to send an outreach that feels like a personal one-on-one message. Because the thing with mass campaigns, mass marketing, right, is everybody is already tired of that. Nobody wants to see another ad. Nobody wants to see another billboard, right? You want to have a one-on-one connection, one-on-one email. I will give you an example right now. We're going to go through this together, and this will give you an idea about what kind of outreach you should be sending. So email subject line is the following. I wanted to share this with you before others find it. And we're going to now go into email body. But from the email subject line directly, you can already see this feels like a one-on-one email you would send to some of your leads, maybe your buy lead or your sell lead. So we're going to go ahead and say, hi name, John here. I was reviewing all the new homes for sale in Irvine this morning, and I came across a unique opportunity. The marketing materials of this property are subpar. From experience, I can tell you it looks much worse on Zillow than it does in reality. So it's just over 2,800 square feet. We have 4 beds, beautiful landscape backyard, a private pool, and it's also priced on the lower end of what it could actually sell for if it were marketed properly. So if you're in the market, feel free to reply back details to this email, and I'll send you the full specs of this one. So here in this email, first things first, you can notice that it feels like I kind of wrote it to you personally, right? I have this property. I wanted to let you know about it, right? It doesn't feel like this large mass marketing campaign I just sent to all the homeowners in the local area, right? It feels like I sent you a one-on-one email. And then we go into the actual email. So in the actual email, we have something called a hook. So we have an interesting property, something I would like to probably know more about, something I will probably learn more about. And this same exact principle applies to anything. You could have a market update, you could have a list of homes, whatever you want to do, right? Is ultimately going to be that hook you use to get somebody's interest. And again, if somebody is interested in a property like this, most likely they are in that buying pocket